And I swear, you know, come 2021, I'm going to have this nailed down at some point with everything. It's been a nightmare trying to get things so it's perfect for everybody. Okay, my job setup here, we're going to be working with a 24-inch wide board. I'm going to be working with a 24-inch wide board, 20 inches tall. I think I'm just going to go 20 inches tall and 3/4 of an inch thick. Now, I've talked with the couple, the wedding couple and everything, and there's two signs. One of them is going to be just a sign for them. It's going to be a text on text sign with their last name first and their two first names and everything, and their wedding date and everything. But then there's going to be a registry sign, and this registry sign is going to have a 24 by 20 inch frame. And it's going to, this framed edge is going to probably be about an inch, inch and a quarter thick. And it's going to be covered with glass, and then there's going to be a center plaque here, and there's going to be an opening in the top of the frame on both sides where the guests can sign these little wooden hearts that I'm going to be cutting out, and they can drop them down into this glass frame, and they'll start collecting in the void area here around this center plaque. I'm going to, as we get progress into this and everything, I'm going to simulate this in when we create the Toolpaths and all, so you can kind of get the idea. But if I were to go online and let's see here. Let's see if I can find a an image that kind of somewhat expresses what I'm making. So here is a lovely little guest book by Weddings by Ellie on Etsy. Check out her website. You know, got to give her a shout out since I'm using her picture and all. But you see how this little glass frame here has these little hearts and things that can drop in. You know, the guests can sign them and stuff, and they can, you know, drop those little hearts in. Well, it's going to be something similar to that, but it's going to be on a much larger scale. And we're going to, basically this center plaque area here is going to have their last name initial, which is the letter P, with the name Powell. And then we're going to put a nice little note or something here, and then we'll have a frame. So let's get started with the main part of the design. It's going to be this disc. Now, the disc itself is going to be about an 18-inch diameter disc, and it is going to be centered within the this frame that's going to be made. Okay, and we're going to start off with creating an offset to create kind of a border, if you will. So I'm going to go into the offset tool, and I'm going to offset it inward by 1 inch, and we're going to, and that went outward because I had outward selected. Let's go inward by 1 inch, and that's going to be, this is going to be my working area in here. Okay. All right. And so we're going to start off with our text and everything. Now, generally, when I am creating a kind of, think of a split font, you guys and girls who do your carvings and stuff, you've probably seen them on Etsy. where you can actually buy the fonts that are split fonts. It has like, the top of the letter to the bottom letter with a box in the middle that you can put, a design, what have you. And it's a split letter font. Well, I'm not going to use an actual split letter font. I'm going to make my split letter design where the last name goes and everything. So the first thing that I'm going to do is let's go ahead and let's get their last name initial in here. It's going to be the letter P for Powell. And I want to find a nice font that, would really kind of not too fat and bulky, will stand out and look very nice and elegant. And I don't think I'm going to go with a script. And all of this, guys and girls, this is not, I've talked with the couple, but I don't have a pre-planned design. You're literally with me through my thought process, and I'm going to be talking out loud as I go through, and we're going to build this from scratch. And so I'm going to go through my fonts, and when I have a hard time finding fonts based on this ABCD 1, 2, 3, I love going online to wordmark.it. Wordmark.it. It's a great website for helping you choose your fonts and everything. And let me get my Flash Manager settings as first. And then I can refresh this. All right, and I'm just going to type in the letter P to help kind of show my fonts and everything here, so I can get a general idea of, what font I want to use for this back initial and everything. And I've got, a lot of different options and things. I want something that is just simple, elegant. There's Flo from, was that Progressive Auto? Something simple and elegant, almost like the Gill Sands here. Nothing too, extravagant. I don't want a script font. I don't think that would be, that would look very well. Let's see here. Old Alfie kind of gives me a nice, elegant, older look for the P. I may look at that one closely as well. And Royal Signage. I think Royal Signage, I think that one would look good too. So with that being decided, let's go down to the R's in my fonts here. And let's first look at that Royal Signage. Royal Signage is part of a font pack that I purchased. There was an ad on Facebook. It was like, I forget, like $46 or something, and it was just a really nice package of about 5 or 6 different fonts, and it was a nice pack. Now, when I'm looking at this, the one thing that I do have to take into consideration is that the text or the font itself is going to be split, right? So, and I'm going to be splitting it low on the leg here where the last name is going to go. So I've got to take that into consideration. Is the design going to mesh and blend? This particular font has a bit of an overlap loop here that I need to clean up. So I'm going to convert it to a curve, And I'm going to take my scissors and trim that loop away. And I've got one more down here at the bottom. I don't want any overlaps or loops and things in here. And I'm kind of digging the font. I think it'll look nice when everything is together. And also I'm going to stick with it. I don't think that I'm going to do any kind of manipulation where like I'm, making it, stretching it out a bit or anything. I don't know if that, kind of distorts it or if it makes it look okay. And all versus, its original P. I think I'm going to stick with the original. So let's go ahead and get that centered on the board. Okay. And now I'm going to create my rectangles. And my last name is going to be in this general section here. The last name is. And I need the box that I'm drawing. I need it to kind of come in and connect to this border here, so that when the text gets cut out, it all is one bit of wood, right? So we'll go ahead and I'm going to stretch this out. And then I'm going to reduce the size a bit. And what I care about, I don't care about what type of overlap it is or anything, as long as there is some overlap on this inner border. That's really all I care about, is that there's some overlap on the inner border. So that looks... All right, I'm going to sneak in and sneak down a little bit on it. And so I'm going to go with that. Now I'm going to create another offset of this rectangle inward, but it's only going to be about 1/4 of an inch. At the most, 1/4 of an inch is going to be fine. And now I'm ready to put in the last name. Now this inside border, I don't care if it overlaps completely like the outside one does. It's the outside one that's important to me. So my 1/4 inch offset, and now I'm going to create my text. So let's go ahead and put in the last name. And the royal signage was great, for the tall initials of the one word, but as capital letters, it does not look good at all. If it's all going to be capitals. Now, if I were going to write this as a normal word, then, it could look great. But if I hold my cap locks down, then every letter is going to have that kind of configured with this particular text. It's going to have all those swirly, letters and things. And I'm not gonna do that. So I'm going to end up using a different font for the name Powell. And so let's go ahead and start to lay this out. And I'm going to go down to the gill sands. And that's in the G's in my, the gill sands. And let's see here. It would help if I actually typed it all capital letters. Turn the cap box off, Lainey, and you will be doing good. Howell. I hope that's how they spell their last name. Almost forgot how to spell the last name. Lord have mercy. I think I'm going to go with the Rockwell bold for right now. Now what my goal is to size this up, and I want to get it centered on this rectangle. So I'm going to hold down my shift key and select my rectangle last. All right, that's what I want to align to. My text is selected first. And now I can use my alignment tool and I can align to the center of that rectangle and everything. When it comes to creating the design, when I'm working with text, thanks, Big Easy, Powell. That's what I got. Yep, good. Thanks. Big Easy, that is, if I'm not mistaken, that's Eric Powell. He is one of the recipients of this sign. When I'm creating a design, no matter what, my biggest hurdle, what takes me the longest, is the fonts. They're going to make or break a design in its look and everything. And I spend a lot of time focusing on that. Now, I don't have that kind of time tonight and everything to spend a whole lot of time to focus on it. So I've got to kind of get it right. So I'm going to pop back over to Word Market here, and I'm going to type in the Powell. Let me get all capital letters here, Powell, and I'm going to hit enter. Wordmark.it is a time saver for me for sure, because it shows me all of the fonts on my computer, and it kind of helps me really pick out what I want. Now, I want a font that, again, for this couple, they're family. So I want it to look good because I'll never live it down if it doesn't. But I can't escape them, just kidding. But I want it bold. I want it where it stands out well, but it's not too overbearing in things. And so let's go down. I'm scrolling fast because I'm just kind of taking everything into memory here. And Saddlebag has a little bit of, I don't know, for some reason, Eric's a hunter and a country boy. Saddlebag kind of has a bit of an appeal to me on that. But I got to think about Vicky too, and everything. It's not all about the guys. It's the woman's wedding day. So I got to make sure it's right for both. I think I'm going to try Saddlebag as an, and then I'm going to try the Glacier Gloucester. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, but this font right here. we're gonna look at those two. And then as a plain simple, the iron swiller. I know the ones that I want. So first of all, let's go down to Saddlebag and let's see what we get, what kind of look we get there, because there is a lot more to go with this than just the text. So let's see here, Saddlebag. It's kind of got those nice little edge type letters to it and everything that could fit. It's got to be able to somewhat match the back initial as well. I don't want to outshine one over the other. So Saddlebag, that's an option if once it's scaled properly. The Glossier, let's go to the G's. That was extra condensed. Let me that one not tickling my fancy too much. And then the last one, L Sweater, and that would be, I don't like the P on that. So IFC Railroad, I think IFC Railroad. I'm kind of looking at the two. I don't know, Eric. Big Easy, what do you think of IFC Railroad, this font here? Let me know. Let me stretch this out. And I want to space my letters out. I don't want to just stretch the text. I want to space the letters out a bit. Let me know about that IFC Railroad. Comic Sans, Old and Wise says Comic Sans. All right, so we got IFC Railroad, but let's take a look at Comic Sans. I believe that's just kind of a nice standard font. Oh no, not fitting at all. It's a little bit too bubbly and childish. All right, so they like the IFC Railroad. We're going to go with that. And now we're going to go in and I'm going to break this text up into vectors. And I'm going to stretch it out a bit. Now, let me undo that. I didn't have to break it up into vectors. I could have very easily went into my text editing and spacing tool, text spacing and curve tool. And I could absolutely, just start clicking and shoving these letters apart, right? And I could, get them separated and things. But the reason why I'm converting it to curves is it will allow me to kind of work a little bit faster with my arrow keys and kind of get things, spaced out appropriately. Now, as I select these letters, I'm kind of grouping them so I can position them. And once I get the spacing the way that I want, then I will get everything centered in the box. So right now, my main focus is getting the spacing appropriate for what looks good to me. And once I'm happy with the way spacing looks, then I will select everything. Let's do that a little differently. I will select everything and I will center it inside this rectangle. But before I do that, I'm going to hit the letter U on my keyboard to ungroup everything, and then the letter G to group it all as one item. Once I have it grouped, now I can hold down. So I can see everybody now catching up with, yes, froze, but let me know if I'm back with you. Big Easy says he's frozen. Oh, there's a delay in the screen. There's about a 4-minute delay from what I'm seeing and what y'all are seeing. So it should unfreeze in a moment. Yeah, it should unfreeze. There's a 4-minute delay there's a delay. There's a latency. But I don't know why I froze. YouTube better stop that because we've got a long way to go. Now, what's important to me for this to work is that each of my letters in some form or fashion overlap that inside rectangle. Okay, that's what's important to me, is that there is some form of overlap. And my L's are slightly shorter than my E's and everything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the text curves all the same height, and then I'll stretch things as they are, because this font has some highs and lows. But I want all these curves to be the same height. So I'm going to work my way around and start kind of getting things the same height. And so I'm going to select my two L's here. And if I grab this middle box here and, to pull up and down, I can drag that box over to the E, the top of the E, and make it the same height as the top of that E right there. So they're the same height. Now that I've got those three aligned, to the same height. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to drag this up, and I'm going to drag it to the height of the W, which the height of the W here is going to be this these two peaks in the middle. So we'll get them to that height. Once I get them working my way down the list, oops, I'm going to drag this up, but I'm going to drag it over to the top of the P, or the O, not the O, or not the P, and snap that so they're the same height. And then last but not least, let's do that again. Select that, drag that up, and I'm going to drag that to the top of the P. So now I'm assured that all my text going across are the same height, so that when I actually stretch this text so that there is overlap, very minute overlap in that box, that everything is going to overlap. Okay? All right. So hopefully you're with me there. Now on the bottom, I'm going to do the same thing. And on the bottom here, notice that, getting a little bit of overlap on my W doesn't quite, I get more overlap on the E and the L's and everything. I adjusted the height on the top of those, but I really didn't focus on the bottom. And I could go back through and, get everything the same. If I take a guideline here and snap it across my E, pretty much all the letters except for the P, the O is touching good, my W isn't touching, and E, L, L are fine, there. So on my O, or not my O, my W, I'm going to focus on that letter, and I'm going to go ahead and pull it down to that guideline. Okay. And notice it's two different legs. I can't sit there unless I do node editing. I can't get both legs the same. So I'm just going to focus on one, to get it there. And the P as well. I'm going to go ahead and make sure I get both parts of the P there. I'm going to go ahead and pull that down to there. And that's all that I'm going to do with the text. Now I'm going to just make sure that I'm overlapping, but not too much, just a little bit. I don't want to take away from the letters themselves. When this all gets cut away, I want to still be able to see that this is an L and everything, right? Okay. All right. We're going to group the, let's get this guideline out of the way. We're going to group the word Powell together so it's treated as one object. And now I'm going to, the Powell is going to be my boundary. The rectangle here, I'm going to clear from within the boundary. So if I select the rectangle first, to do is it's going to recreate that rectangle around the word Powell. And so the font, I could literally take the font and move it out of the way. And now I have the word Powell blended together in there. Right? So now my text is blended with that. Okay. So the font was just used just to create this part here. All right. All right, cool. Now we're going to go in and do some trimming. So we're going to take our scissors, and basically I need all of this to blend in. Oops, don't do that. Control Z. This line right here doesn't overlap right here. So I need to extend it out. I'll use my extend tool and I'll extend from here to there. And then I can trim away. Oh, come on now. All right. So if it decides to act up, you know, because of the intersection and everything, then if I'll try to trim it one more time, it won't let me. You know, it gets rid of everything down there. So I'm going to just do a bit of node editing. And I'm going to basically delete this span. Oh, dadgummit. I'll just pull this back and snap it to there. There we go. And that should automatically close that vector. Okay. All right, let's go over here and do the same thing. Let's trim this away, this away, this. And once again, if I try to trim this, this line is not intersecting here. So let me extend it from there to there. And I can trim this away now. And that'll automatically close up there. And I've got that little guy right there. Let's trim him away. All right, let's make sure on the other side that that doesn't exist on the other side, which it does. Pretty consistent. Trim that away. Close that tool. Now, when it carves in these voids here, when it carves away this wood, all the rest of this is connected to that outside border. Okay. Now my split text. I need to get rid of these lines inside of here. So basically, that's just a simple trim. Okay. So now the P is part of that boundary as well. Okay. Cool. All right. Now, normally, you know, when I carve these, normally it's hollow, right? It's hollow and you know, cut all the way through. It's like a wreath almost that's hanging on a wall or what have you. But because this is going to have a it's going to be inside of this frame that they can drop all these little hearts that they sign around and everything. I almost, instead of hearts, I thought about dropping little buck and does, little buck and doe heads, you know, but, you know, we're going to do hearts. We'll do something nice and elegant, you know, just something simple for their wedding. But I was trying to think of what little element was going to get dropped down when they signed it in there, what shape, you know, and hearts are good. We might have little diamonds and all kinds of little things. Who knows? But I'm not going to be cutting this all the way out. It's not going to be like just a simple ring that, you know, is hanging on the front door. This is going to be in a frame, glass front, nice wood frame, about 1.25 inches thick. And it's going to encapsulate all these things that get dropped in. So I have all of this room here to play with, to put, you know, to carve something. And what I thought would be nice is having their names, Eric and Vicky, or Vicky and Eric. Big easy. You tell me which way you want it to be, Eric and Vicky or Vicky and Eric. Normally it's the guy's name first and all, but hey, I'm open, right? But you tell me what you want and I'll make it happen. And you know, we're going to put their names kind of so they follow the arc here. It'd be a raised kind of text deal. This will all be pocketed out, basically. And we're also down here, they're going to have a wedding sign that's going to have a text on text with their wedding date and stuff. And I didn't know if I wanted to put their wedding date here or if I wanted to, you know, a nice little message, you know, something, you know, that, you know, that means something to them. And this is a rough, Vicky and Eric, there you go. Something that means something to them, some kind of quote or saying. And this will be a rough draft. I'm going to do the design, how it's going to carve and everything, but it's easy to change, right? I've got this vectoric design that if they say, oh, hey, can we put this here? That would be cool. I can go back and change it because I'm not carving it until, tomorrow or the next day. So I'll be able to talk to them. So I'll be able to make changes, right? I'll be able to make changes. I don't know why I keep looking over here when you guys are right here in front of me. I will, I'll figure that out. But let's get their names up here going. So we're going to come in here and let's go. I am going to go Eric and Vicky. And we're going to change the font again. And it would help if I didn't have my cap locks on. Let's try that again. Eric and Vicky. Okay. And this is that royal signage font that our P, is based off of, and doesn't look too bad. We've got to curve it, so we got to see what it looks like when it's curved. So the edit text spacing and curve tool, I'm going to the edit text spacing and curve tool will allow me to curve the text, right? It will allow me to, get it positioned, and then I can adjust the curve accordingly so it's appropriate. And I think on the curve and all, let me see if I can drag this up a little bit. Let me get this centered left to right. Okay. This, even though it is centered left to right, this would drive me insane looking at it, because I kind of want the and sign on my center line, right? But I've got, it's not my sign, it's not OCD. I got to be kind of, so I've really got to pay attention to the font and see what's going to be appropriate. Let's go through, and it's a nice looking font, but let's see if, because it does match the P, but and I don't want to pish posh sign of a bunch of like 100 different fonts, right? A few are okay. They're closely in the close families or whatever, as far as looks, not families, not the font families, but I want something that, isn't too blah, boring, isn't too, skinny. I need to decide if I'm going all capital letters, what the deal is going to be, type of thing. And so again, this is my biggest struggle with any design, is laying out the fonts and what's going to look good and what's not going to look good. I think that I'm going to stick with the royal signage, and I think I'm not going to stress it too much. But the one thing that's crucial is I don't necessarily need to follow this outer circle with the curve, but maybe somewhat kind of match this curve here. So let's go back into our edit text spacing and curve tool, and let me pull this down. Work with me now. And let me pull that up and kind of split the difference there. Okay. All right. So my and sign is centered with my P, which my P is centered on the text. So I'm going to ignore this line right down the middle. Because like I said, if it were up to me, I'd want, you know, to have that moved over. But it wouldn't be, it wouldn't look right. It's not going to look right. Let's. I don't know, Vicky, Eric, you guys jump in and you know, give me the yay, nay, thumbs up, thumbs down on these things. And of course, all these things can be changed. We don't have to make that ultimate decision tonight, but we're just going through the design process. I like the font. It matches the P and everything. What I may do is get out of the edit text spacing and curve tool. Let me see what would happen if I pull this out a little bit. And I just did a slight rotation. I would love to have. I don't know. You guys and girls also give me your opinion and everything there. All right. Now, also, Vicky, one of you guys, could you please throw your wedding date in the chat area? Because I forgot what, and I know it's in March, I think March, May, March, something like that. Could you give me your wedding date so we can kind of play around with that as well? All right, everybody. So, break the caps out, and so old Wizzy says break the caps out and bottom justify them. Yep. So he's got, now that's a good that's a good point as well. Let's take this and let's go back into our edit text spacing and curve tool. What he was, what old and Wizzy said, actually not a bad idea. If we convert this to curves. Now, if I convert it to curves to break out the lower text here, then I'm going to have to, you know, let me think about this. Because it's going to no longer be text for me to be able to wrap the curves. But basically what he was saying is bottom justify the text. So all the text, you know, lines up and except for the, you know, the capital letters. And let's do this the smart way. Let's take this. Let me group this together. Select this C. And in my alignment tool, I'm going to align to the bottom there to bring that in order. And I'll take these items, group them together, and align them to that Vicky there. To bottom justify it, right? So, you know, that's really got a nice look to it. But the problem is I don't have my ability to really curve it unless I do a distort. So that will work. Let's go with an arc. I love the distort tool. Let's create an arc. This arc, I'm going to kind of somewhere. Let me see what the best way to do this. Bear with me a second here. Let's get into the arc tool. Escape. Come on now. Let's try that one more time. One there. Straight across there, bud. And pull that somewhat up. Now I'm going to stretch this out so it kind of flares a little bit. And I'm going to group Eric and Vicky. They're already grouped together, so I don't need to worry about that. And I'm going to distort Eric and Vicky above a single curve. So let me select the curve, and I'm going to use above a single curve, and I'm going to click OK. And now I've got my curve, and I've got my lower justified letters, which great old and wise, that looks good. Okay. I like that. So very good call on that one. That was a good call on that. Now I could distort it a little bit more, but let me get rid of that curve for a minute. And let's group, G for group on this. Now notice it won't let me group this together because I'm still in that distortion. I'm still in the distortion. If I actually went into node edit mode, I'm still in my envelope here. Meaning if I pull something, it's going to distort the way it distorts and all that. So what I need to do is I need to get out of that tool and then right click and convert it back to a curved object. That will break it out of the envelope. So now I can group it back together and position it, where I want everything. And trying to think, if looking at this from a whole, let's kind of get this back up from a distance. I think that'll look okay. I don't want to go too drastic with the curve. Kind of would love to see this curve a little bit more here. All right. Let's see if I can break this up, and bear with me a second here. Let's see if I can adjust my curve a little bit. Not a whole lot. All right, one more time. Select that, and distort. And I control Z'd out of it. I backed out of, so I could get back to where I was, so I could get just a little bit more curve out of that. And let's right click on it again to convert to curves. I can now group it together, and then I can kind of get it in position. All right, I gotta center it left to right. Can't, there we go. All right. Man, there's something. There's something that I'm wanting, but I'm not getting it. But we'll play around with that a little bit more. So we got to move on. That's good. All right. Now, make the E the same height as the V. He's full of all kinds of good suggestions tonight. Let's get this back. All right, let's ungroup this. Take the E. I'm going to size it up, stretch it up, and I'm going to drag my mouse over to the top of the V to bring them to the same height. That's good. Good, good. And I'm going to take this here, and I'm going to bottom justify it. I'm going to bottom justify everything to the E. So we'll align. That's a little much. Control V. No, I'm going to leave it right where it's at. But at the same height, that's not a bad idea. Okay, let's get this. Let's get this group together. I'm going to hit the letter G on my keyboard to group it together. And I'm going to I'm going to stick with that curve. All right, let's select the text. Let's select the curve and distort. Click apply. Break it out of the envelope, right click and convert to curves. Then I can group it together. And now I'll get it into position. And I'm going to call that good. So thanks for the suggestions, old and wise. That's why he's old and wise. All right. So their wedding date is March 20th. And I could throw that down here. I don't want to go down here. I might want to throw that over here in the corner. And there's just, I don't know. There's something that I want to add to this, but we'll talk about that later. Let's create some, let's create the date here. And I'm not going to do the date in all caps and all that. And so I'm not going to use the royal signage because that does kind of do all caps. Let's go ahead and that'll probably be all caps too, that one I just chose. It is. But let's go March 20th, 2021. And let's find the appropriate font for this. And I said, don't do a whole bunch of different fonts, but I want the date to be different than everything else. It's going to be just small and in that bottom corner. All right, let's go into the Edit Text Spacing and Curve tool. I'm going to pull this down, and I'm going to grab this red node and rotate it. And let's get it. I got to find my rotation point. Bear with me. I'll find that magic spot here in just a second. All right, let's pull that back a little bit. Okay. All right. All right. That's for right now. That's good for this. And I'll talk with Eric and Vicky, tomorrow sometime about, maybe adding something there. I'll think about that. There's so many possibilities. I could do a nice little scenery. I could do, some trees in the background. I could really embellish this up, but we're going to call this good for right now. And let's start toolpathing this so you guys and girls can kind of see what's happening. And what I'm going to do so I can really give you the visual of what's going on is I'm actually going to take a rectangle and drop it in here around this edge here. And the first toolpath that I'm going to do is going to be a pocket cut. And I'm going to cut this down 3/8 of an inch, 0.375. Yeah, just for visual purposes. And I'm going to calculate this pocket. And actually, let's make this rectangle just slightly bigger and recalculate that. Preview the visible toolpath. And that V is just trying to shine. That's true, Vicky. So this, well, hold on, let me stop that. Let me offset this rectangle inward. Okay, bear with me. This will make sense in just a second. Let's see here. Let's do... Let me mirror that to the other side. And let's trim this up to create this opening. Okay. And let me take, here I can do it even better. Let's undo that. Let's trim away this outside vector here, these two inside vectors. There we go. Outside vector, inside. Let me go into node editing, and I'm going to select all 4 of these nodes. I'm just using my arrow key to go up. All right, now I'm going to create a pocket toolpath based on these 2 vectors here. Let's do it in one. So for time's sake, now I would do this in 3 passes, but for preview and time's sake, I'm just going to set it to 1 pass because it's not going to be part of the design. I'm actually going to build a frame here, but for preview purposes, we'll all right, let's reset that preview and preview the visible toolpath. Okay, let that pocket out real quick, and then we'll create out the other toolpaths. All right, so if you guys and girls have any questions, we're going to pause here in a moment and I'm going to go through. So if you have any questions, now's the time to ask. If you asked questions earlier, do me a favor, scroll back up and copy and paste. So from this point on, that way I can see them so I don't have to try to scroll back through all of y'all's conversation and everything. If y'all have any questions or anything. But if we look at this, so imagine, if you will, this frame. All right. And the frame is going to be a cherry, nice cherry frame. And it's going to have a glass cover, and there's going to be 2 openings where they're going to be able to drop those little hearts down, and they'll start to be able to collect, you know, on both sides around this center disc area. Okay. You with me so far on that? Okay. Now let's create our toolpaths in here. And for these toolpaths, let me think about this for a second. Yep. This is going to be a V-Carve toolpath. It is going to have a flat bottom. I'm going to go probably, we'll look at 1/8 of an inch. Might go probably 3/16, but we'll look at 1/8. I'm going to use a 60-degree V-bit. 60-degree V-bit. And I'm going to use an 1/8 inch end mill. Possibly also a 16th inch end mill to get into some of the tighter areas and stuff. But let's go ahead and calculate that. Now, selected vector contains some overlaps, right? So I need to clean those up. So I'm going to hit cancel, and I'm going to clean those overlaps up. And where those overlaps are, they're going to most likely be in this font. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my vector validator tool, and I'm going to search the selected vectors to find the overlaps. And so it's just that one line right there that I forgot to trim away earlier, right? So good. Let's go ahead and delete that because it doesn't belong. And I love the vector validator tool for that purpose. It helps me kind of quickly and easily point out those issues. All right, we got it again, so bear with me. Let me find out what I missed. Let's go back over here for a moment. And let's turn off these toolpaths for a second. Let's go to that vector validator tool again, and let's see what I missed. 2 intersections. I missed 2 down here. Right there, where my quote mark is overlapping my border, right? So that I am going to actually adjust the quote mark because I need this border to stay intact. I don't want to trim this as one thing. So what I'm going to do with that is I will convert this text here into a curve. I'm going to reduce slightly the size of this comma. I said quote mark, it's a comma. I'm just going to, if I can zoom in, let me zoom in and make it a little bit bigger. And I'm just going to bump it up just a little bit, and I'll be fine with that. All right, so let's go ahead and select this and calculate that toolpath again. So let's go in and select all of this inside and calculate. No issues or warnings, that's good. I took care of the issues that were there. And looking at this, it's carving exactly the way I want to preview it. So let's preview the visible toolpath. My 1/8 inch end mill is going to go in and get a majority of the flat area. Now I could have went 1/4, 1/8, 1/16, right? Larger, smaller, smaller, smaller. But it's not, I'm not really too concerned about the time or anything like that. So the 1/8 and 1/16 is fine and everything. And so we're going to go in and create that V-Carve. Okay, let's give this a little bit of color, if you will. We will have, I don't know what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to leave that natural cherry, but in here where Eric and them are, Eric and Vicky, the Powell, we'll add in some color to just get some contrast in there and stuff. And so this is what that sign will look like. It will have, again, it'll have a glass frame. It'll be completely enclosed with a glass frame. What you can't see in here is there will be a groove around here for the glass. I'm going to actually cut the frame pieces 3/4 inch by 1.25 inch frame pieces. They're going to have a groove in there for the glass. It's going to be completely enclosed. There's going to be enough room where they can drop in those little hearts. And so this is what that design will look like. Okay, for that main sign with a glass enclosure and all of that stuff. All right, cool. All right. Now there's some dead space in here. I mean, I don't want to overkill it, right? But I just think something pretty cool could go there. They're both kind of outdoors people and all. We could do some nice trees, deer or whatever, or we could leave it simple and plain. But you know, there's some real estate here. You know, we could throw a couple of hearts in there, whatever, right? Your imagination. And that's something that I would talk with them about, and we could kind of experiment. But right now, as a basic design for this, this is what this plate's going to look like. Now, of course, my backboard and my frame are going to be separate from my disc, right? This disc is what's going to get carved, this circular disc, and it's going to be attached. It's not going to be one solid piece of wood pocketed out like you see here and everything. My disc is going to be glued in to there. It's going to be, you know, and I may do a contrasting material. I might do like a cherry and walnut or a maple and cherry or something, but it's going to have a little bit of standout to where this centerpiece is really truly a centerpiece in things. So it'll stand out from the frame and the backboard and everything. So this is the initial design. Okay. Let's see here. Biggie's, I would love Lake Catherine. I would love Lake Catherine in the space. Lake Catherine, right? Well, that's a possibility. We could, I could do an aerial search of the Lake Catherine area and see if I could get some kind of carving there. Or I could, I have a laser attachment that I could attach to the CNC. I may be able to do a laser engrave, like a depth chart or something in there. We will talk about that and look at that and see what can be done in there as some kind of background silhouette or some kind of design for sure. No doubt about it. Because there, you know, there's some real estate to play with that it won't be so overwhelming or you know, look terrible or anything. It'd be just a nice accent or something. We can definitely look at that. But for the initial design, this is our starting point. And hopefully you guys and girls enjoyed the way learning, you know, how I did this to create that split text design from kind of scratch instead of using a split text font. Yep. And Old and Wise shared a link it won't let Oldenwise, it won't let the link. I'm trying to let it show, but it's not doing it. But mytopo.com/products/lake maps .cfm. So Vicky, yes, sometimes less is more. So it is absolutely perfect. But you know, we can play around with it a little bit and see if there's anything that we could add to it or not. Right now, it's 8:41. We actually kind of got through this one pretty quick and simple, you know, versus like past classes where it's long hours and all. I kind of almost want to cut it off here, but I really quick want to make their text on text design. And you guys have seen me make text on text designs before. I've got a class, a video on it showing you 3 different approaches to text on text. But I want to go ahead. Vicky and Eric are joining me. So I want to take the time. First thing I'm going to do before I lose any of this, because that's the actual design I'm carving, I want to save this design. Let's go ahead and Eric and Vicky. This is number 1. That's her sign. So hopefully you guys like the font choices and everything that we picked out for there. And all. Now, for those of you that, you know, want to skedaddle and you got this, hey, that was great. I don't need to see you make a text on text sign. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. Hit the like button on your way out if you do leave. Hit that thumbs up button. That really helps a lot. And but if you're going to stick around with me for another few minutes, we're going to run through a text on text design, and I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail because I do have a class on that's in full detail, right? So what we're going to do is I'm going to create a new file. This one is going to be a longer board. It's going to be about 30 inches long, and it's going to be about, I would say it's either going to be 1 by 8, which would be 7 1/4, 1.25, 3/4 of an inch thick. We'll click OK. All right, I'm going to create a rectangle and create a boundary all the way across that rectangle, and I'm going to offset it inward. I'm going to offset it inward to create my border, and it's going to go inward by, I think 1 inch is going to be okay. No, let's go 3/4, 0.75. I want sharp corners. Delete the original. Okay, 3/4. There we go. I want a bit of a decorative edges and everything, so I am going to go back into the rectangle tool and change it to radius internal corners, and I'm going to go with a 3/4 inch internal radius. Give it kind of like a nice decorative internal edge there. Let's go ahead and get their last name in here. Now I'm actually going to use the text within a vector box tool. Draw text within a vector box tool. And I'm still, guys, when I look at this computer screen, everything is backwards like it was earlier, you know, I was talking about. And it still throws me off. I'm like, are they seeing that backwards? Let's see here. Bear with me a second. Well, thanks, Olden Wise, and thanks for your input. Olden Wise, you know, it's first time viewer. Thank you for that. Thank you for joining us. You know, awesome. Check out the rest of my channels. The channel, there's over 200 videos of step-by-step tutorials for all kinds of different things. And I'm glad it was fun for you to watch. I appreciate that and everything. I'm going to use the draw text within a vector box, and I'm going to use this inner boundary as my box layout here so that when I type in the last name, let's get rid of that K. When I type in the last name, and let's get the more appropriate font here, not that one. Where's my saddlebag? I'm going to go with saddlebag. Eric, like that. I'm going to stretch the text. I want normal margins here. I'm going to stretch the text characters this way and horizontally. Let me see if I want to do it this way as well. Yeah. So I'm going to stretch the characters in both directions so I get a nice, good fill of this last name here. All right, cool. Then on my top text, I want my top text to be something completely different, a different font. I'm going to go a little scripty, a little designy. So with that, I'm going to open up my regular text tool. And it's all going to be lowercase, not all caps this time. And let's get a nice size going here. Let's go with a 1.5 inch tall text. Let's get it on the board, and then we'll change the font and size it up appropriately and stuff. Let's get a nice looking font here. No, let's go something a little bit fancier. Let's go with monotype Corsiva. Let's see if that's an oldie but a goodie. Let's get down here. Monotype Corsiva. Bold. Monotype, you're letting me down. Let's see here. See, I hate when their and signs don't look like and signs, you know. It just it eats at me sometimes when they do that. When you find a nice font, and I could change the and sign, right? I could change it to a different font, but daggum, people, make your and sign look like an and sign. All right, let's see here. Precious. Woo, that's a lot. Hold on a second. Parchment. Whoa, that's crazy. Hold on a second. We're getting somewhere. Decent. I know I've got bear with me, ladies and gentlemen. We will get through this in a matter of not a bad looking font. Morosa. That's part of that font pack, that 6 font pack that I was telling you about earlier. Marketing script. Ooh, that's inline. We don't want that. Where's marketing script at? Bubbly. All right, not too bad, not too bad. All right, let's we'll stick with that. And we'll I'll probably make a change to it. I'll probably go out and find a bigger font. Now, when a lot of people, when they do text in text, they kind of like to go center, you know, on top of center and all that. I do not like that. I like my upper text to be down a little bit. And I actually, looking at the size of this and everything, I think I actually want to go with a bit of a wider board, because I want to be able to put some stuff here. So I'm going to go 1 by 10 is 9.25. Yeah. All right. Bear with me a second while I make, oops. Yeah, 9.25. Let me apply here. All right, very quickly, I'm going to delete this border, draw another border, square corners from corner to corner here. I'm going to offset it inward 3/4 of an inch. I'm going to take it back and put radius corners. Everything that I just did earlier, but just a little bit faster. All right. So now on Powell, I'm going to go ahead and hold down my shift key and I'm going to size it up appropriately. And I'm going to move that up. Move that up here. About there. And Eric and Vicky, I'm going to come in right about here. I'm going to take Eric and Vicky and I'm going to stretch it out just a little bit. Not much. About like that. Doesn't look too shabby. All right, text on text. Really quickly, I'm going to create 3 layers. Layer 1 is going to be my original layer. Layer 2 is going to be my top layer. Layer 3 is going to be my bottom. And layer 4 is going to be my welded. Welded. All right. Original layer is everything should be on it. I'm going to make sure by moving it. All right, it's already there. All right, I want to add something. What do I want to add? Okay, let's reduce that down a little bit. I'm going to come in here and add a 3D model. All right, let's see here. Okay, a slight rotation. I don't want that to rotate. Let's. All right, quit rotating now. Hold on a second. I'm going to rotate. All right, work with me. 3D model. You guys still with me? Okay, some people are still with me. Okay. There's something I want to do here, and I just don't know what it is. This may not be the appropriate scene for this. And because we don't have mountains down here in Florida, but I have to, let me think. Okay. Oh, what do I have here? All right, let's throw some trees into the mix. Let's throw these 2 guys in here. Now we're just getting silly. Hold on a minute. All right, elk. We don't have elk down here. Hold on. Let's get rid of those. Let's throw him in here. Let's throw... Where'd you go? Where'd you go? Come back here. And let's throw a log cabin over here in the distance. All right. So how about a python? Yeah, we have lots of those in Florida. Down in the Keys. Okay. So I want to size this appropriately because I want to do some kind of scene down here that just is really nice, that would, you know, a sign that would hang up on their wall or something on their porch or whatever, that just has a nice 3D element with some text on text with their name. So what I'm going to do is I've ultimately decided that I'm going to go with not a 1x10. I'm going to go with a 1x12. That was an ultimate decision as soon as I started laying these things in, which is 11.25 inch wide board. It's still going to remain 30 inches in length. I'm not going to change that at all. And it would help if I hit OK and not cancel. And I want to try to get through this very quickly. 11.25. Okay, I clicked OK. All right, I'm going to let that close. I'm not frozen up. You guys still with me? Good. All right, let's make this rectangle here the same size as my border. Once again, I'm going to delete this. And I'm going to take that boundary and offset it inward 3/4 of an inch. I'm going to keep the 3/4. I want to have as much room as possible. Sharp corners, delete the original this time. And I'm going to go back to my rectangle tool and keep my 3/4 inch radius. I still want that nice little curvature. All right. Now I'm going to take Eric and Vicky and Powell, and I'm going to move that up here across the top. Giving myself a good little amount of distance there, but I want to be able to have these 3D model scene coming across the bottom, but I need to size it appropriately, you know, so everything matches up. So first off, let's get the cabin in place and sized, and then I'll size everything kind of perspectively around that. Let's get that cabin sized, and I'm keeping the cabin away from the border because this is going to be a V-Carve pocket in here, and I'm going to have a slight angle there. So I'm going to keep it away from the border a bit. Let's go into the 3D view so you all can see what's kind of happening here with the way everything is going to be blending and meshing together and stuff. On the 3D modeling tab, this is all done in V-Carve Pro. It's with the existing models from Design and Make and things. Let's go ahead and grab our fir trees here. And I'm going to get them right at the corner of this cabin here. And I need them to be, I don't want the cabin going through the trees like it is here, you know. Let me move over so you can see. I don't want the cabin going through the trees. I need the trees above the cabin. So I'm going to give the trees a slight amount of tilt so that they stand proud here. I don't want to give them too much base height and make them stand too proud. I just want to give them a slight tilt. So I'm going to click on this blue box. And in this blue box here, I'm going to click tilt. Set. The first place I click is going to be the thin part of the wedge. The second place I click is going to be the happy little trees, Bob Ross, the thick part of the wedge. And so this is the thick part of the wedge over here. So I need to click here first, click here second. And you like how it tilts that a little bit? Let's straighten it back out. It tilts the whole board when I do that. But now I can adjust my tilt angle slightly to bring those trees out, right? To bring them out. And if I turn this and zoom out a little bit, if I turn this, let's get down here. On my tilt, I just want to bring the trees where they're just past the cabin. I don't need to go crazy with the tilt. I just need them to be in front of that cabin, so I can actually reduce that tilt slightly. And that's not enough, right? They're buried into the cabin now. So I need to go, I'm going to go 1.6, bring that out. And I'm going to go a little bit more. So let's go 1.8. And I am fine with that. So now I've got, a few trees, kind of this cabin. Now, of course, the trees and everything, the cabin's just about as tall as them. I need to make sure if I go into my 2D view, I need to kind of size these things appropriately. Once I get these two things sized appropriately so they fit under the Powell and Eric and Vicky, then I can size everything else accordingly and stuff. So I'm going to select these two items. And I'm going to hold down my shift key and size them down together. And then I'm going to use my down arrow keys and just kind of nudge them down. Actually, I'm going to use my mouse nudging will take forever. So I'm going to just drag this down. Here. And I'm going to slightly scale a little bit more. What my goal is I do not want the 3D models touching my 2D application, my 2D stuff up here. Okay, so now with that position, I'm going to take my trees, just select them, and I'm slightly going to increase them just a little bit, just to give them a little bit more height. All right, now I have a perspective. I have something to go by that the rest can kind of follow suit. And so let's take our deer. And, the deer can't be the size of the house, but you also have to think about perspective. Things that are closer up are larger than things that are farther away, smaller. So we have to kind of create our own perspective and stuff. And no, I did not size by keeping the aspect ratio. I squished it down. I want to grab the corner and size that appropriately. Now he is going to be a little bit larger than the other one, as if they're slightly further apart from each other. There's not that quite, they're not like side by side. Okay. Our trees over here, we're going to size these down a little bit, and I'm going to throw them over into this corner, kind of here. And then I'm going to start filling in some underbrush down here. So in my models, I have some grass and bushes and things like that. So I'm going to, let me see where I got these bushes here. Do I have any grass? Grass. That doesn't look like grass. Let me drop this on my screen and go into the 3D view. That doesn't look like grass to me. We're not dealing with that. We're not. That's. We're going to use. Where's my bushes at? I just had my bushes. Where'd you go? There we go. We'll throw some of these on. There we go. Let's get this over here, and I'm going to kind of basically, I'm just going to get this sized a little bit more appropriate. And I'm literally going to copy this all the way across. So I want to kind of I'll fix the bushes and the trees here. But if I hold down my control key, I'm literally just going to start working my way across. I wish I could drag it and then hit X8 and it put 8 all the way across, you know, kind of thing, like I could do in SketchUp or something. But basically, I have to wait, let it generate. I don't mind if there's some spacing in between it. I cannot see what this looks like right now. I'm just dragging them in place into the 3D view, and I will place everything appropriately. We're almost done. Looks like somebody needs to mow their front yard. All right, let's come over here and let's start kind of blending this a little bit better. So on the all of the models that I created on my grass here, these bushes, currently right now they're all merged. They're merging with the model, and that's great. But what I want to do is I want to select all of them. And I'm going to go into the properties of all of them. Am I frozen? Am I frozen? Whoa. Can you guys see me? Let me know if you can see me. Good right now? Okay. It's probably because of all those models and everything, and when it probably froze up when it was trying to get those models across and stuff. Let's go 0.09. Okay. All right. So here, my deer's feet are below the grass, right? You can see them kind of like down here. So what I want to do is on this deer number 2, we're going to move him up slightly. And deer number 1, we're going to move him up slightly. Okay. To kind of create that scene. Okay. You guys see and hear me good? Wonderful. All right. So basically, we've got just a little bit of underbrush, you know, some brush coming across here and everything, and all, and nothing too extravagant, nothing too crazy, just a nice little scenery, you know, to kind of go along with this design here. And so now that we have that, Okay. I need to create basically one symbiotic model. I need to create I need to bake these together. And I don't really have a bake tool with V-Carve Pro like I do with Aspire, but all I need to do is select all of these models here. And the first thing that I want to do with them is I want to create a boundary, create a vector boundary. Okay. And that vector boundary just kind of creates a protective barrier to when all this other stuff gets carved away up here, the wood down here will not get messed with. Now, this boundary goes right to those models. So I need to do a little bit of an offset, give myself a little bit of room. So on that boundary, I'm just going to offset it outward by 1/16 of an inch. Okay. And this boundary, what it is doing or what it's going to do is going to create a protective barrier. When all of my other stuff gets pocketed away for that text on text, this will not be touched. It'll protect that area there. All right. Let's go ahead and fix this upper stuff really quickly. We're going to here. All right, so here we go. Very quickly, I know I keep saying that, but we're going to take our top text, our border. I'm going to copy that to the bottom layer. All right. My models, all the models, they're on the original layer. What I want to do is I want to basically move them to a 3D layer. No, I'll leave them right where they are. Okay, let's go ahead and turn off the original for right now. Turn off the bottom. All I want is the top on. On the top text, my boundary here, this border, I'm going to be using a V-cut toolpath. And let me explain to you what I'm doing, not to get too fast and all that stuff. My models right now, they have a total height of 0.2973. Okay. That's my model thicknesses. Okay. What I want to do is I only want my text and everything to cut down to 1/4 of an inch. So I need my models to be that height. So I'm going to reset my model height here to 0.24. Model thickness, or reduce that height down some. Okay. And then I'm going to put 0.01 a material above them. That gives me a 0.24. Give me just a second here. Okay. I want 0.25 minus the thickness of my model, 0.24, is that 0.01. That's what I want above my model right now, and I want to click OK. All right. That's the goal I'm shooting for, because I'm going to be using a 60-degree V-bit to V-carve and a 1/4 inch end mill to pocket cut this. And so my top text layer, my boundary that's on my top text layer, I need to offset that inward by 0.0722. Now, if you want to know where I got that number, check out the text on text video that I did based on a 60-degree V-bit, 1/8 inch top text, 1/8 inch bottom text at 1/8 inch depth. The offset distance from the tip of the bit to that 1/8 inch intersection is 0.0722. So I want to offset my border inward by 0.0722. And I don't need this original here, so I'm going to delete it to create that smaller offset inward. Okay. Now I'm going to move Eric and Vicky. I'm going to copy that to my welded layer. And I'm going to turn off and turn on my welded layer here. I should only have just the text Eric and Vicky. I'm going to convert that text to a curve. I'm going to trim away my little overlap problem there. Make sure I have, and I got another one right there on the K and another one there. Make sure I have no more issues. Good. And I'm going to offset Eric and Vicky outward by that 0.0722. I don't want sharp corners, and I want to delete the original. I want to offset that outward. Okay. Now, back in my original layer, I want this boundary, the original border, not the offset border, the original. I want that copied down to that welded text layer as well. And I also want this border, this outside border, copied to that welded layer also. All right. Now, on this border, my layers here, I'm going to get some cutting into those, into my border of the grass and everything here. You know, it's going to get milled away. I'm going to look at that when we create the toolpaths here in a second, and I don't think it's going to be that bad. If it's too bad, if it's like going to drive me crazy that's cut away, then I'll adjust my vectors and move everything up a little bit. But I think I'm going to be fine with, I'll be happy with the way it looks. I think I'll be fine with it. It'll kind of give the illusion that that scenery is kind of coming into the border a bit. We'll see. That's in my thought. That's what it's going to look like in my mind. All right, let's go ahead and create some toolpaths. Let's turn off our original, turn on our top text and our welded text layer, bottom text. Oh, we're not ready to create toolpaths. Bottom text. Bottom text. We need to just, nothing done with that. Just we need to copy it to the welded layer. Copy it to the welded layer. And on that welded layer, Eric and Vicky, that offset, we're going to group that together. Powell is going to get converted to a curve. Oops. Always make sure that you're working in the layer so you don't create offsets and something stupid and crazy like I just did. Okay, one more time. We're going to convert it to curves. Oh, I did it again. I'm going to right click and convert to curves. There we go. And then I'm going to group it together. Group. All right. These two items here are going to get welded. Welded. And that's going to create my bottom layer. And so now I can create my toolpath. So I need these two toolpaths open. Bottom text doesn't do anything. It's already there, the word Powell. Let's create our V-Carve toolpath. This is going to be associated, this toolpath is going to be associated with everything on the top layer. So notice that everything that's in the top layer is selected. So I did what's called an automatic selection. So associate with toolpath, it's going to be automatic. 0 to 1/8 of an inch, 60-degree V-bit. On this, I am going to add a 1/4 inch end mill into the mix. All the way down to a 1/16. I don't mind changing bits and all if I get nice, good detail and everything. So I want a raster. I want to cut with the grain, less cleanup for me to have to do. And this is going to be my top. Okay. All right, what that gives me, if I preview that visible toolpath, is here. Let's make it a little faster for time's sake because I've been talking too much all day now. Let's go very high. Preview all toolpaths. This is going to give me my top text and my pocketed area and everything. All right. Now, you see the chunks and everything that are getting cut here in the word Vicky? That is because I have this button right here, check, project onto 3D model. I don't want that. I've already taken care of that by adjusting that model's position in the material. And so I'm going to recalculate this without that projecting the toolpath on the 3D model because it screws everything up. Now, normally, if you're doing a 2D cut and a 3D cut, you do want to project onto a 3D model. But in this case, I don't because I'm already creating the pocket to the same depth as that model. So let's once again preview all the toolpaths. I've got a 1/4 inch end mill that's going to do a hog away most of the material, followed by the 1/8 that's going to come in and touch up a little areas, followed by the 16th. It's going to clean up even more, and then my V-bit's going to come in and do the V-Carve. Okay, so far, this is what I've got. Okay, now I'm going to come in and create another V-Carve toolpath, starting at 1/8 of an inch. Cutting down an additional 1/8 of an inch, same tools, but for my vector selection, I want to associate all the toolpaths that are on the welded layer with that. So we're going to calculate that. And that warning that keeps popping up, that is letting me know that my bottom vectors here, they're overlapping. And I know that. I'm very much aware of that. We had to talk about that earlier and stuff. So let's preview this visible toolpath. Okay. And once again, you know, now my text on text pretty much is done as far as the text on text goes. Eric and Vicky Powell, or Eric and Vicky Powell. Now I need to focus on my 3D toolpaths. So I'm going to go ahead and turn my original layer back on. Don't need it on, but just so you guys and girls can see it. I am going to be using this vector. Let's deselect this vector here, this outside boundary vector, as the boundary, the limit. So 3D rough cut. I'm going to use the selected vector as the boundary, and I'm going to use a 1/4 inch end mill. And I'm not going to do a boundary offset. I don't want it going past the line. 3D level raster or along the x-axis. I'm going to calculate this. We're almost home. Almost done. We're in the home stretch. My 3D rough isn't taking a whole lot of material. It's only, you know, the 3D rough is only removing some of these deep areas. So if we preview that selected toolpath, you know, it's only removing these kind of major deep areas here. All right. Then I'm going to turn around with my 3D finish cut. Now, for the 3D finish cut, I don't mind the time that it's going to take, but I'm going to use a very small ball nose. If I use an 1/8 inch ball nose on models this size, I'm going to get tool marks and not a whole lot of detail. 1/16 of an inch, little bit better detail, you know, and things like that. 32nd of an inch ball nose, phenomenal detail. Now I'm going to calculate this with a 1/16 of an inch tapered ball nose. We'll look at that, and then I'm going to go back and calculate it with the 32nd. Let's go with our 1/16 inch tapered ball nose. Selected vector is the boundary. Calculate. It's going to take a second to calculate. And while that's calculating, let's see if you guys have any questions. I don't see any questions unless let me scroll up a little bit. How about pythons or mosquitoes? There you go. Pythons or mosquitoes. All right. You can change the font of a single character. Can you not? Old and Wise, if you're still here, if you haven't left yet, no, you can't change it. Once you can, like if I type out the word hello, once I convert that text into a curve, I can't go back and change the ELLO. They're not fonts any longer. But I can type in H, then an E, then an LLO, and I can place them together to spell the word hello, and I could change the fonts on those individual fonts. But if I type it as one word and convert it to text, then I can't. Now, on my 3D finish cut, what I forgot to do was I do want the bit to go past the boundary. I want it to go past the boundary so it blends everything in with that lower pocket. And I'm hoping, what I'm hoping here is that because my lower pocket is 0.25 and my model Z plane, which means the bottom of my model is 0.2445, very small difference of a 0.0554, 0554, something like that. Anyway, I'm hoping that's not going to be too distracting to me and everything. But I do want my finished toolpath to go past the boundary offset by at least the diameter of the bit. So it's a 16th. I'm going to go 0.07. Right? I want the bit to go past the model so it blends the model in with the rest of that pocket and everything. So let's go through. It's going to go through that calculation one more time, then we'll finish, and then you'll get to see the finished project. And Big Easy and Vicky, if you're still with me, you'll be able to see the finished project here in just a second. Let's go ahead and preview the visible toolpath. Now, remember on the visible toolpath, remember I said that it's in my border, right? And for that, I'm not going to mind that it's in the border and everything. But because it'll look like the grass and everything, the bottom border will have the kind of the same flow and the shape of the grass. That's not going to bug me that much. If it does, you know, if I start to, you know, look at it and everything, if it does, then I will bring everything up. But what is going to bug me is this little lip around here where my model is 0.2445 and my pocket is 0.25. That difference, that little lip that you see there, that is going to bug me, right? So I'm going to go back into my model here. In my model Z plane, that's what I need to get lower. And so if I add in, let's say I change this, just so you see here, if I change this to a 0.02, my model Z plane changes, right? So I need to go that 0.01. What's my math here? 0155 instead of 0.01, 0155, because I need my model Z plane to be exactly a 1/4 of an inch. The bottom of my model, I need to be exactly at a 1/4 of an inch when it carves, because that's what my pocket is. 1/8 of an inch top text, 1/8 of an inch bottom text, total 1/4 of an inch cut depth. So I'm going to click OK on that. It's going to ask me about recalculating all my toolpaths. No, I'm not going to do that, but I am going to recalculate the 3D rough cut. And I am going to recalculate the 3D finish. Let that finish up, let it go through, and then we'll carve it out, and then we'll show a preview of the full sign. And then that will be it for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you that stuck around, I appreciate you. And again, we went through this fast. So if you want to know more about text-on-text type signs and all, I did a whole class on it showing you 3 different styles and everything. So let's go through here. And all I'm going to do is re-preview these 2 toolpaths right here, the visible toolpaths. And all that's going to do is clean up that little halo around the deer. So if we zoom in, you know, that little halo is gone. Now, if you notice really closely, and we're in a low resolution right now, so it's pixeled. I'll increase the resolution. But right here, there's a little bit of something that I've got to clean up. And if I would have let the bit go past the boundary just a little bit further, more than that 0.07 that I did, it would have cleaned that up. But I'm not concerned about it because I don't want to go too far, because if you notice, by letting the bit go past that 0.07, I'm cutting into the bottom of the and here, right here. I've got where the 2 antlers are. And I can accept that. You know, if I couldn't accept that and I didn't want it to cut into that bottom end, then I'm going to readjust my size of the Powell, Vicky, Eric, and Vicky, and just bring that just in a little bit to create a little bit more distance. And if I was going to do that, I would bring my models down slightly and get them off the border as well, right? Those are the 2 things that I can clean up. All right. And everything. So Harvey and Mary Beth, would 1 doe, 1 buck be better than 2 bucks, you know, and everything? Yes, it would be. And what I'll need to do is go into my clip art here and under my animals. Bear with me. It's freezing up here. Go to my clip art and go into my animals. And let's see if I've got a doe. All right, in my particular animals here, I do not have a doe. Let me go down to my design and make. I got a bear. I got bucks, elk, a dog, some ducks. I don't have a doe, so I'll have to go get a doe model from designandmake.com, and we can put a doe in there. And you know, we could even put a little fawns. I might get some little fawns and have a whole little family there, right? Whole family. But anyway, yes. But yeah, that would probably look better than 2 bucks. I wouldn't mind seeing 2 bucks outside of my cabin, you know, kind of thing. But yeah, because it is a kind of a wedding sign, Eric and Vicky, we need something that represents Vicky, right? The doe and everything. But anyway, this is the sign, our text-on-text sign with our nice little scenery at the bottom. And hopefully you liked it. You know, I know it was fast. And keep the buck on the left. Yeah, that one would stay. It would be the other one would be the one that I would change. Vicky's good with it as well. But that is our text on text sign. And so those are, let me save this design here, file, save as. And this will be Eric and Vicky 2. And so once again, they're going to have their sign just for themselves. And then they will have their registry type, wedding registry type sign for their family that will be filled with all kinds of love and everything from the guests and everything, you know, for those pockets and stuff. So how about a bunny? Bruce DeGarmo says, I had $10 in my pocket. I'd rather be a buck than a frog or bear. I mean, just saying. Yeah, exactly. We won't put any kind of frog or bear or anything in. But these are going to be your two signs, guys and girls. Thanks. I'm glad, Vicky and Eric, that you were able to hang out with me tonight for these hours and watch. But these are going to be your two signs. And we're going to, I'll get on them, the carving of those. Tomorrow I'll be starting the glue ups and everything. And then we'll get them done. But hopefully you liked the projects, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, we have our little registry sign, and then we have our farm sign. And I want to thank you all for joining me tonight. Until next time, we'll see you next Tuesday. See y'all later. Bye now.